Welcome to the Grow Your Practice podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Chad Madden, owner of Madden Physical Therapy and Breakthrough. Join me each week as we dive into the best practices, systems, principles, tips, and tricks to help you grow your private practice. Hey everybody, Chad Madden here with the Grow Your Practice podcast. And in this episode, this is a special one because I think we have a first timer here. Tracy Causey is a physical therapist, ATC, also serial entrepreneur, owner and partner at P4 Physical Therapy in Birmingham, Alabama. We're going to talk a lot about their model and the reason I'm so excited about this, and I didn't tell Tracy I was going to say this before I introduced him, but earlier this year, we were at an event in Houston, Texas, and I had the opportunity to have dinner with Tracy, and it was probably my favorite private practice owner dinner, I think, in over 10 years. So
Oh, wow.
thanks for doing that, man, and welcome to the podcast here.
Thanks for having me. What an introduction. Wow.
Great.
A lot to live up to
So
now.
yeah, you'll be great. Before we get into P4 and what you're doing with your practice, which I just see as being really unique and needed right now in our industry, I did see that you're the co-owner of Farmhouse Fitness in Birmingham. I know you mentioned you have a couple of other gyms as well, personal training gym. How did you get involved in that? And how did you end up in the gym business as also a private practice owner? Is there any overlap between those two?
Yeah, so interesting. So the first gym that I partnered with was actually in Athens, Alabama, and it's a traditional, you know, high membership base, come in, do your workout with an exercise room and some classes, but overall traditional gym called 360 Fitness. And that was just a PT. Actually, one of my partners now, back then, we did this with some orthopedic relationships we had up there. And it was in the same building as some other healthcare PT, orthopedic stuff going on. Um, and then, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, 3 years ago, in Birmingham, I used to do a lot of CrossFit and high intensity training. Um, and there was a lady here who's just really good at that, at teaching it, connecting with the community. Um, her name's Peggy. And Peggy was just looking to want to do her own thing and had a following. At the same time, one of our P4 clinics was in a building um, on one end with a chiropractic practice on the other end that we actually work well together with. And they're more of a functional based, protocol driven chiropractic practice. And so the owner of that and I just worked together with Peggy to set up this high intensity boutique kind of training. It's a smaller set footprint. Um, but it is designed to be more than what you would see, like call it any city CrossFit. This is specifically designed by Peggy after every new member has a full functional assessment by either Bo and his chiropractic firm or our P4 clinicians to create a more of a warm up assessment based off what we see to work on flexibility, core strength, hip imbalance, whatever that may be in that person, so that as they enter the programming, it's either a one-on-one training or it's small group, less than 10 per class that has been orchestrated by Peggy to have a lot of scale options, a lot of variety in it, so that we don't have the guys and gals are throwing heavy weight, chasing time in there, but they like that kind of workout. So they're more like my age, maybe even a little older, that just want to move some weight, but also do it right and not get hurt. And so a little more boutique, a little more specific to the body awareness and assessment of the musculoskeletal system, pre, during, and along the way. And so that's what makes it a little different. Um, but it's still in that high intensity training regimen that you would see at any town CrossFit. So
Nice.
it's been a great venture, but it's been more of a hobby and it keeps me from paying for my membership.
Secret comes out. That's great.
Yes, that's
Um,
right.
so P4, you and your co-founders started that in 2020.
We did.
As a survivor of opening clinics in 2020 myself, one in January, one in March of 2020, which was brutal. Can you walk me through like the decision to do that, and what made you and your co-founders, your partners, want to open up, and how'd you survive the early
Well, what's
pain?
interesting, yeah, I say we were a little naive looking back. We were also very fortunate and blessed to how it worked out. But we started sitting down talking about model, mission, vision, culture, the things we wanted this to be representative of and be about. Um, Late 19, early 20, and but our target, because of some needs to wait until April 1st, a specific date or past, we just targeted that date, incorporating and starting. And so as we approach that date, as you can, remember, COVID started really coming into, the media late February, early March. Things started shutting down like the second week of March. We had banks lined up that all bailed on us at the last minute. So we were pretty strongly convicted that there was a vacuum in our area as it relates to the opportunity for good quality therapy with a model that would be unique to what we wanted to bring to the market. And that vacuum of opportunity, of space for that, was time sensitive, we thought. And so we didn't want to back down from whatever it took to get this thing started. And it just slowed us down a little bit because we had to reevaluate banking, and we had some relationships that came forward late April. Opened our first clinic in June, and really we thought this would be behind us by June. I mean, as naive as we were, and nobody really knew the details at the time. We were living day by day.
Flatten
But
the curve, Tracy. Remember that? 2 weeks, we're going to flatten the curve, and then it
oh
all
yeah, we're just
straight
2 weeks
out.
done. And so we thought, honestly, we thought we're also in rural Alabama. Okay, so the rules don't always apply to rural Alabama the way they were laid out at, governmentally at the, in DC. And so there was I guess, less of a concern in the communities we were serving at the time. But we opened June 1, and by the end of the year, we had 6 open. Not what we thought, not what we planned, but that's the way it played out. And I think looking back, one of the unique benefits that we had as a startup business is we didn't have a payroll yet. We didn't have expenses to reel back from that existing businesses had to figure out, and no matter what your size, you had to figure out, every 2 weeks what kind of payments are coming or expenses are coming, but the revenue's dropping, and we just were able to ramp up into the revenue because we were a startup business, and I think that was some unknown benefit at the time. So
That's great. So, like you said, a blessing in disguise, right?
blessing in disguise. There were some opportunities that opened, as businesses around us started to let go of people or walk away from leases. Some unforeseen opportunities that just happened to go our way. So we were very fortunate. Yes.
Yeah. And just to give everybody an idea, I did a poor job of talking about this in the intro. What is the scope of P4 today? I think the last time you and I spoke, it was 35 or 36 locations. Where are you at today?
Yeah. So we'll be just over 40 by the end of October. And we've got our footprint is a little scattered, but it really is Alabama, Tennessee, and West Georgia. With the of those, say 40, all but 5 are in Alabama and Tennessee. And
Great.
most of our Tennessee business is really central and east up toward Knoxville.
Yeah. And just to recognize and edify your partners to some degree, you came to the table with quite a bit of experience, right? You all have been in the injury industry for quite some time.
Yeah, I had been, a little history on myself. So I am a PTATC. I started at Auburn, finished at Troy in the accredited, athlete training program, and then went to UAB for PT school. And I stepped into a private practice right away that, quickly was bought by private equity. I spent about 10 years there growing, great opportunities in the clinic and outside the clinic operationally, learning the business, learning, relational, importance, learning new development, all the different pieces of this business that are hard to learn if you're in one clinic all day, every day. And um, that lasted about 10 years, and it started to culturally shift to where I couldn't be comfortable anymore. And so I looked for other options, ended up with another private practice that had already kind of started down the private equity train. But it still had good culture and was a good opportunity personally for me at the time. I spent about 10 years there. Similar experience toward the end of that tenure. That business was ended up being bought and owned by a company that I just didn't see eye to eye with culturally. Just felt like it was hard to represent who I am to my folks every day, and so started looking for a different opportunity. I needed to get outside of some restrictions for a couple of years, and had opportunity to go to run a large orthopedic practice in the state, about 38 orthopods. That was challenging, as you can imagine, but it was a great experience. I learned a lot of things I had not had the opportunity to learn in the PT space from the business side. And it's been about 2 years there. And so I've been in and out of our profession for 20 to 25 years at this point when we started P4. And we had a really, they say it's as valuable, if not more valuable, to learn what you don't want to repeat as what you want to do. And so we had a great combination as partners, and I'm one of four primary partners, and I'll share a little bit about them in a second. But um, long history with all three of those guys and different ways. And we knew through the years, at least, what our vision would be based off what we want this to look like and what we don't want this to look like, and what we are willing down a hill for, and what we want this to be, when we're done. And so that was heavy on us as we created the model, the vision, the mission, the values, and tried to put all that on paper before we opened the clinic. So I've got three partners. Um, Three of us are PTs, and one's our CFO. CFO's been an accountability partner of mine for 25 years, personal friend, just a great human. And then the other two PTs have both worked with me since graduation for, you know, 2 decades. I helped teach at UAB PT school on the side some in anatomy, and I would get to know these guys and gals in their first year. And it's a great avenue for recruiting. And both these guys I met early on and knew that I wanted to be a part of what they were doing. And so they came in to different parts of my career right out of school. And so when it was time to start this, that they were the ones I wanted to do it with. So
Nice. And your CFO's a killer on the golf course too, right?
he's a +3. That's the other side of the coin.
Yeah,
He's
that's
a real
crazy.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned Troy and that you started at Auburn, finished up at Troy, and that you're a Troy University alumni. P4 just became, in the last year or two, Troy Athletics PT partner. What did that mean for you personally to bring that partnership back to your home
I
turf
mean,
there?
it's exactly that word. It was personal. My CFO and I both graduated from there. He was an All American baseball player there. He's still very involved. My wife played volleyball there and still holds records. It's just a really sweet place for us on the athletic side. I had a great experience there in athletic training, what we call an old school experience where you're just, you're in the swamp from day one, uh, back then before they had all these GAs. And so it was great. And we've tried to, stay connected there. The head trainer there and I were in the same class. I sang at her wedding. We're good friends, close, stay connected through the years. And, they had a large brand that was providing their service at the time. And she could just tell things weren't going to continue to go well. And so we connected, and look, this is one of those things where on paper doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's personal to us and we love it. And we love that place, and we're trying to do the best we can for it not to be a charity, but to at least, have a little bit of proceed and just be able to give back to the university in some way. And it's been great. We've done it a couple of years. If we can tweak a few things, we'll continue to do it long term. Um, we don't have a lot down there outside of that relationship geographically, but it has opened some other doors. One of the clinics we're opening this fall is 15 minutes from there, which we probably would not have done without this. And so it's who knows? It is been a great opportunity to go back home and provide that service. Though we've enjoyed it.
Love that. Uh, you shared that P4 doesn't build pro formas, and just for all of our listeners right now, the next few questions that Tracy and I are going to talk through, that we're going to work through, come from Tracy did a chapter for us. Very grateful for your contribution to Titans of Private Practice. Took the time to give us some answers, so I'm going to ask you a few of that for our listeners. We'll be publishing this. I just looked at the final manuscript. It's going to print. We're going to have this ready for by September 24th, where we'll have 300 copies shipped to the event here in Nashville. So very excited about that. Tracy, you were gracious enough to contribute and are one of the 95 Titans of Private Practice in there. In the book, in your chapter, you talk about that you don't build pro formas. I'm going to guess you still have like some rough math outline to some degree, right? But that you really focus your clinics based on the person, because when you get that right, success is almost guaranteed. So what I hear from that, what I'm pulling from that, is that the relationship with that person, finding the right, it's ready who, not how, getting the who, the right person in the right seat is more important than having some projections or budgeting on a Excel spreadsheet. Is that right?
It is. I mean, I call it. I mean, we do napkin math. That's what I call it. I know how our metrics run. I know how our care model plays out. And so I know how many new patients in a week we need for this to not lose money. And and so if there's a pro forma in the sense, that's the threshold. Can we generate this many new patients, and how fast can we do it? So we're not digging out of a big crater. Um, and but even if it's a slow grind, if I've got the right person, I know we're going to get there eventually. And so it really comes back to the person. And most of our clinics are, I say most, all of our clinics are either someone who has um, worked with us previously, one of us went to school with, and we never worked with, but we know them, or they're what I'm calling that second generation person. They've come through one of our people. And that's just been a really, that mixed with the specifics of our model make this um, driven by the person being the catalyst to a successful clinic, or our desire to do a clinic. We don't open clinics just to open clinics. When we built our performa, or our we had a performer projection before we started our business, because we needed to get a loan. And in that projection, we estimated we'd have 8 to 10 clinics in the first 5 years, and maybe 2 to 3 in the first year. We had 6 in 6 months, and it wasn't anything other than person driven. Somebody from our past that said, "Hey, what are y'all doing? What does that look like?" And we present the model, and it's too good to be true in the sense of what they knew that was out there. And so a lot of it has to do with the model, but the model alone doesn't work. It's got to be the right person, like-minded, work ethic, driven to be the caregiver of their community, to want to, that it just matters more. It's not clocking in, clocking out. We don't work to the bone, but and our people don't even work more than 45 hours a week. So it really is just a mindset more than anything. And having history with these folks obviously helps that. We don't open clinics just for the dot to go to that community. It's around that person. But if I've got the right person that wants to open something, I don't care where it's at, we'll go. and if they live there. Case in point, this is a good example. And I hadn't talked to this lady, this young girl that I employed her years ago under a different brand, and then we went different directions at different times, and I haven't thought of her in 7 years, and maybe longer. I can't really remember when it was, but it was at least 7 or 8 years. And I get a message from Facebook Messenger where she's, kind of seen what we're doing. And last time I knew her, she was in a whole different community. She's moved. She's in a different community now. And, but she's someone that I have a lot of faith in. And I recall back when we were together having that feeling. And so she reached out. We had a couple of interactions, talked to her about the model. We got together, talk about, the details of our current, setup, what we're doing, what that could mean for her. And uh, I don't, I didn't do a market pro forma on where she lives now. I know that she's been there 7 years. If we do business with her, it's going to work. And, so it's kind of naturally come about. This was never on our radar until about 6 months ago. And that's how this business has grown, at least, well, more than half of it that way. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there is something to be said for the history of your group and the relationships that you've built along the way really speaks to the depth of the character of the four of you, right?
Mm.
At the same time, like, because you're a overnight success story, 20 years in the making, right? Is the
Look,
classic cliche.
we always say it's a small network, it's a small business, and you're one person removed from knowing every PT in the country. And a lot of that's true. I mean, you just never know, and it's just do right by people. And at some point, there's not, and you don't do it for the reason of an opportunity. You just do it because it's the right thing to do. And then at some point, it may work out.
Yeah. You mentioned that the majority of your clinics are rural. I think I found 90% are in a rural community. Most practices or a lot of growth playbooks in the industry chase very dense markets and try to be, uh, you know, win a competition there with a lot of other players. What do you know about rural markets that the rest of the profession is getting wrong? The only exception I'll say is anytime we're talking about access to care, rural markets will come up. I love rural markets are for us, but for you, what are you finding that works really well that we're just missing as an
Well,
industry?
having been in a operational ladder of org chart in other companies in the past, rural areas are terrible because you can't hire, you can't recruit. I mean, it's a nightmare when there's turnover. And I think the difference for us, and we're still young, we're 6.5 years in, but so far the difference for us is a combination of model, person, that's their community. And so our turnover, especially at a minority partner level or a leadership level, is virtually zero. I mean, we've lost two people in those roles that weren't a choice of retirement. Our model, affords a path to retirement, and so we've had a couple of our senior in age, senior folks that are um, minority partners retire. And but we've had turnover maybe with two positions that are leadership or at the clinic level, um, that over the last 6.5 years. And so when that is the deterrent for large brands, and it's so much easier for them. If you look at the top five companies that do PT in the country, there's going to be a battle for the one and two challenges in our business. One and two, it's either recruiting and hiring, which also plays into turnover retention. So all that I would say is one thing, and then second is our payer and reimbursement and the cuts that come with that and the challenges that come with that every year. But those are really one and two almost every year, and so I think that's what dictates the reluctancy for big brands to go into rural communities. And so most of the time you go to these rural communities, you see either a hospital provider, which is usually not good quality. And not always, I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of times it's not the greatest. Or you see a private practice, somebody who's from there that dug in and made their practice there. It's a single place. It's one clinic business, and they'll be there till they're done. And if they don't have that, then they're left with no provider. And I haven't done the math on the percentages. There is a percentage of our rural communities that we are the only provider. But then there's others that are considered rural areas where we have competition, and some of the brands have come there, and there's private practices there. But we play in the long game. I say to my folks all the time, this is a marathon, not a sprint. I don't want you in fifth gear all the time. You will burn out. You can do that somewhere else under a brand. Don't do that here. Like if when family needs you to go to third gear, go to third gear. We'll survive that season of life, and then you can go back to fourth and fifth gear. And so we have a little bit of a different temperament and expectation that I think affords us better retention within the model we have that also affords us better retention. And that makes rural areas a lot more attractive.
That's great. You talked about your ownership, the uniqueness of your ownership model, and you wrote the profession needs to move away from the individual small group ownership toward multi-level ownership with minority partners at the clinic level, which is exactly what you're doing at P4. The whole model is based on that. For an owner, and I see this a lot, for an owner that has like 10, 15 years in, they're 100% equity, very, very hesitant to give that up. That's a hard pill for them to swallow. Like, I'm going to be stronger if I give up equity as we're growing this thing. What does that structure look like, and what in terms of what you're willing to share mechanically, and how would you help an owner who's very reluctant to think about giving some equity or selling some equity or providing equity opportunities? How would you help someone like that overcome that challenge, that self-limiting belief that they
Yeah,
have?
a couple of different scenarios here. So I'll start with just my personal conviction as we started this business was driven by a couple of things. One is for decades, I had made money for somebody else, and it was time to create something that, as values created, I'm seeing more of the benefit of that value that's being created. At the same time, the guys I was doing this with had done that too. The people within the model that we're going to create, they're going to be doing that too. They were doing that also. So, I was thinking about, I don't know, a dozen people that may come be a part of this in addition to our four. And in that thought process, it's, why would I want them to go from a scenario where they're working for the man and they're generating value for someone else to come here to do that for us? That doesn't seem right. Seems greedy. Seems I just inappropriate. And that may be different if our plan was to open one or two clinics. That was not our plan. We felt like this could scale to 10 or 12 clinics. We didn't really have a vision beyond that, but at the time, but we thought that's what we could do. And so with that scale, it was just hard for me to get comfortable with them not having some skin in the game if they're creating that value again. And at some point, their bitterness, no matter how we treat them, would grow. And that's the way I visualized it. And so it was important to me that we, not only in how I structured this with my three partners, but also how we structured this with each clinic, that we try our best to align the value you're going to create with the value you have in the business, if that makes sense. That's hard to do because we all know over time things shift and change, and you don't change ownership percentages. But imagine you have a partner, you're both 50-50, and all of a sudden you look up and you're doing all the work and they're doing nothing. That's a hard pill to swallow. So we were trying to predict the future and say, okay, how does this look 5, 10 years from now? And how can we align ownership in a way that everybody feels like they're it's properly aligned to what value they brought to the table. And so with that, we created a model where every clinic we open has a minority partner. The four of us own, for simplicity, it's not really this way, but for simplicity, I'll try to describe it like we are the parent company. And every clinic we open is a new company that is ownership by the parent and at a minority stake, a local partner, if that makes sense. Now, you don't that's not how we functionally set it up, but that would be how to try to explain it and understand it. Um, and so we did that from day one. So it makes it easier to do that 5 years in, 10 years in, to continue that process. For someone who has, and I'll come back to the benefits of that. We've talked a little bit about the benefits of that. You can connect the dots, but there's a lot of benefits to that. Being able to scale, being able to, retain, um, and allow leaders to be leaders, and you don't have to touch everything. Yes, all that plays into that model. But I do think there's some challenges, and I've owned this business for 20 years and it's a single clinic. How do I make sense of now growing with sharing my ownership? And what I would say is you don't have to share the ownership of the whole. A new clinic is a new, even though it doesn't have to be a separate tax ID, it can be a new division, if you will. And that division can have a different ownership structure than what you have in your primary company right now. And I I think that far too many of like real leaders in our profession, people that entrepreneurs in our profession. Not everybody goes to PT school wants to do outpatient. Not everybody does outpatient wants to be an entrepreneur and really go out on a limb. And even in that world, there's a spectrum. And maybe time and tenure helps you gain more risk tolerance. But everybody's on that spectrum somewhere inside their profession. And so not everyone is driven to wanting to be anywhere on that spectrum of ownership and entrepreneurship. But the ones that are, I don't think have enough opportunities in our industry within the models that are out there right now to do that unless they do it on their own. And this is a path I feel like more private practitioners and scalable private practices should embrace to attract those entrepreneurial leaders that are in our industry that just don't want to put their house on the line. But they have all the other mindsets to go for it.
Yeah.
And I think that if we don't do that, the brands are going to continue to look at that and do more of that. And right now they're not. And the ones that are on paper, maybe it's a minority partnership, but the way it functions is not. Our partners, they run their business. We give them loose guardrails. Like there are some things that like nobody's taking off Fridays. We're not, shutting the clinic down for 2 weeks for things. You know what I mean? Like there's guardrails. But at the end of the day, they're managing their business, and we are going to we provide a lot of resources in the departments of things that they don't either know about or don't want to deal with. Revenue cycle, HR, legal, marketing support. There's a lot of things we provide, operational support to give them just metrics to consider as they are running their business every day, every week, every month. And so there's a lot of resources, but they're running their businesses, and to open or partner with somebody who doesn't want that or know how to do that, we just won't do it. That's just not what we're doing. So But the person who likes to control every piece of their business is going to struggle with this because there is a skill set, different skill set from manage your business inside four walls every day to manage your business from somewhat of a distance and multiple sites. And you can't take that for granted. Can't assume it's the same. It's not. But it is possible to do. And that even goes back to the original four. I mean, there was strategy around who I wanted to partner with at the level of starting this business. We're not alike. We're like minded. We work hard. We've all had success in our profession, but our temperaments are different. Our skill sets are different. Our strengths and weaknesses are different. Um, we complement each other in a way that offsets things that one does well, one doesn't. That affords all of us the opportunity to really trust and step away from some of the business so the other can handle it. And we try to do that the same way with our minority partners.
Yeah. Sounds like you have a lot of alignment there. And I do have a confession for you, Tracy. After you and I met, we are opening our first division here, October 1,
Yes. Awesome.
from
Congrats.
everything that you just shared. But I had always been looking at it a little bit backwards, which was ownership in the overall umbrella. And yeah, loved your model, took it back, sat down with our partners. I said, this is what we're going to do from here on out. So
That's
appreciate
great.
you and everything you've shared
Keep
there,
me
man.
posted on how that's going.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Couple more questions for you here. So for an owner who's sitting on their, second or third location right now, they have a couple locations, they're still building pro formas. And, to piggyback on the answer, or continue on the answer that you said earlier, which is, they're looking at a potential local partner. What is one thing how do you evaluate that potential partner before you hand over the keys or before you sign that 5-year lease on a property that, they're opening their third or fourth clinic now and they're executing this? How do you suss out if you have the right person or not?
Well, in our P4 history, most of the time it's been somebody we've had some history with. So that's helpful. And for guys like us and others that are listening that have been around a couple of decades, you probably have people that have come and gone that had good experiences that would be worth reaching out to, and depending on where they are, what they're doing, just turn over some rocks and see what you find in people that you have some level of history and confidence in already. Um, but the ones we've met and done things with that we didn't have direct personal experience with, and it's been one person removed or somehow indirect, um, you know, we've not. I mean, everybody's all three. I'll remove our CFO from this because he's really less involved in this part of our business because it's more about the clinician to clinician relationship. And so the three of us, any one of us can make that call. Nobody has to, there's no like rule. But we have decided, I think, through the years that at least two of us need to get comfortable. Ideally, all of us, but at least two of us need to get comfortable and have that FaceTime more than once to decide. We slow play it. We try to get I really try to, I don't talk anybody into doing it. I mean, this is who we are. This is how we do it, vetting them out, but very objectively talking about who we are and what we do and why we do it, um, without any effort to talk them into doing it. But you're trying to I just try to pick up on good personal skills, charismatic, like, would this be somebody I would want treating me in a clinic? Not clinically, but personally. Um, I don't devalue the clinical expertise that we do, and we've got some phenomenal clinicians. But I would take the right personality and the extroverted person that can connect with me and build rapport with me quickly over the best clinician any day of the week. And because they're eventually going to figure out how to get you better, and you're going to keep coming because you like them, you know. um, the person has both is the best, right? And a lot of ours do. Um, but I'm just trying to figure out who has that intangible gift of connecting with people and building rapport. And we do talk about, like, okay, in your community, I mean, where are the 5 to 10 coming from? Like, who are your relationships with, and where are they coming from? And if it feels like they're leaning on me, then this stops quickly. Like, where are you getting this business from? And so that's probably the main things. But we have been fortunate so far that our growth has been around people we have some level of history or confidence in, directly or indirectly.
Nice.
And that's purposeful. I look at this like a marriage. I mean, you can get divorced, but you really don't want to. It's nasty. It's expensive. Nobody wants to. You don't go into it wanting to. And so we look at this like a marriage. Most of the time, we're meeting with the spouse over dinner also with our minority partners, because that's the way this should be looked at. This is long term. Doesn't mean you can't change your mind. You're not signing in blood, but this needs to feel like it's your career ending place.
Yeah.
And the way we've structured it, they create value, and there's an exit where it can be. And that's, they understand all that. And so it really is intentionally trying to have people that we have some confidence in already,
Great.
which may stifle our growth at some point. And that's okay. That's the other thing. Like, we don't have to open any more clinics. We're not, last year in 2024. Yeah. No, 2025. And last year in 2025, we walked into the year and I had one clinic in mind that we were going to open. And I think we did 10 by the end of the
Right.
year. Now, one of those was a partnership we bought into. We're doing that now on occasion. And we've had some successes with it, and we've had some slow grinds with it. But existing businesses that we partner into and buy into, we've done that 3 times. And we're 2 out of 3 on quick success so far. But most of ours are startups, and it's around the person.
I don't have this question written down pre-planned, but I think it's a logical follow-up. Has there ever been a conversation other than the marketing question about where you're going to get your 5 to 10, and they're going to rely on you for that? Has there ever been a point, without getting too detailed or too descriptive, where you were just having a conversation and you were like, you know what? I don't think this is going to work out.
Well, I don't want to, I'll be careful about how I word this, but yes, if you think about our model, we need time for this to grow, mature, and for your succession plan to be in place at the clinic level. Like, I don't want to be held with a clinic, where you're done and I have no answer for it, right? So, yeah, there's been a couple that I've met that, they're just not, they're older and they're not wanting to put but 2 or 3 years in. That's just not going to work. And
Yeah.
so, you give me 5 or more, I think we can figure it out.
Yeah. So that would be like somebody that's a great point. So somebody walking and they're at the tail end of their career and they're just looking for an equity exit more
Yeah.
than anything else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So the one thing that another answer you had in the book that I very much appreciated and admired was you said that time in the Word, time with your family, and golf are what bring you back to clarity, center you when you're overwhelmed. When's the last time that all 3 of those actually happened in the same week?
Oh, this week. What are we on, Tuesday? I've already done it. I'm in the
That's
Word
great.
every day, and
Yeah, yeah.
played golf yesterday. So, um, I would say, I'll get personal for a minute. I've got triplet girls. They just went to college, so we're in a new season of life. We're empty nesters now. Not even maybe a week.
And they just
It's
started.
it's just
They,
started.
yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, we just 2 went to Auburn, and So they've been there 3 or 4 weeks, but one went to Covenant College to play basketball, and we just moved her in last weekend. So we're literally just getting into this season. But it's been, I'm good with it. I loved the 18 years that we had with these girls. It was awesome. But I look back at my career, and for the first 15 to 20 years, maybe, I mean, it was just, you know, grind every day. It was, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., fill every minute, just it was just grind, grind, grind. And it may not, it wasn't always patient care directly, but it was around our business, patient care. And, you know, you just, you can't expect that from people. You can't, it's not going to work. That's the sprint that's going to run out. You got to build a marathon model. And so I learned over time the hard way, thankfully, without any major landmines along the way, I learned the hard way that, you know, balance is the word. There's a rhythm you've got to find that, you allow yourself time to work out, time to, obviously every day for me to read God's word, to get recentered with the purpose and perspective that I should have around what we do here every day and why we do it. And then some me time, with whatever that hobby is. You like to fish, like to hunt, like to play golf, whatever that is. And I just feel like I'm a better father, husband, and leader for our business if I create that rhythm. When I create that rhythm that keeps me in the right perspective and the right balance. And those are the things for me. It could be different for other people, but those are the things for me. This is not about me. It's not about even us P4. It's not about, it's about the lives we touch every day, and we can lose that perspective quickly. Success is the root of, is the start of complacency, and that leads to mediocrity and then failure. And I feel like, it's always important to try and surround yourself with the right people and God's word to keep a good perspective on life and what this is really about. So
Love it. How's Mrs. Causey holding up
she's
with
doing
the?
good. We were doing real good. I think the last 48 hours has been challenging, but she'll be fine. You chase these things all day, every day, sports, all the things that come with that. And then all of a sudden in our world, from 3 to 0, it comes to an emergency brake halt. And, so we gotta get used to it, figure it out. But
Yeah,
they call every day right now. So that helps.
that's a
So,
big one.
yeah.
Great. One more question for you, but before I ask that, what's the best way that somebody could find or learn more about you or P4 or the model that you have? Um,
Well, look, I've always done this. Whether you think it's a good idea or not, there's a lot of people may see this, but I'll give my cell phone, my email, and the website, and I got no problem. Look, I love helping people. If I can help, be a resource. It is better often to text or email to get a response quicker. Today's technology, if I don't know the number, a lot of times it goes straight to voicemail. But I have no qualms at all about giving out information.
Send it.
So our website is p4physicaltherapy.com. The number 4, spell out physicaltherapy.com. It's got all of our locations. There's got opportunities on there. There's only one way to email us on that, and it's for job interest, but it goes to Donnie, one of my partners. So even if it's to inquire as a resource to ask, it doesn't have to be employment. If you're seeing this and you want to connect with us, you can email through that and say, "This is not employment. This is wanting to talk to one of you about X, Y, and Z," and we'll get back to you. My personal email for work, my specific email is tracy.causey. I don't know if you could see, my name is spelled out on the screen right now. If that's provided, Tracy
We'll
is
spell it
without an
for
E.
everybody. We'll put it
Okay.
in the show notes for everybody.
Okay. So it's Tracy.Causey at P4physicaltherapy spelled out.com. P, the number 4, physicaltherapy.com. And then my cell phone is 205 915 8116. And I've always been accessible, patients, employees, community people, and this is private practice family. So if there's anything I can help with, reach out. Look forward to seeing some of you at the conference here in September. My time will be brief. I've got a college event I got to get to with my girls, but I'll be there for a little while and look forward to anybody that wants to meet there. Message me. Maybe we line something while I'm there to have coffee or whatever. So happy to talk.
That's great. And since you went there, Tracy, so only because I have the schedule and the agenda up in front of me. So you'll be speaking Friday morning, that's September 25th, Nashville, Tennessee at Titans Live at the Doubletree in Nashville. Your session is the model of the future for a scalable private practice, the partnership model. And really love everything you and your partners are doing at P4. And thank you so much for coming out of hiding to hop on the podcast here, Tracy. You did great.
Thanks for having me, Chad.
This is great. Hey, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this episode with Tracy Causey of P4. Really, again, to Tracy and the P4 family, greatly appreciate the time and expertise that he shared with us here. You can tell he has decades in. Very, very thoughtful about how he's growing their practices and to expand from 0 to 40 clinics in right around 7 years is absolutely amazing. Must be doing something right. Just to circle back, Tracy will be speaking Friday morning at Titans Live, which is Friday, September 25th in Nashville, Tennessee. For tickets, last chance, and I just looked at this right now, we have 167 registrants. We're expecting that it's going to be tight, getting up to 200. I did check with the hotel, the Doubletree, where we're staying. Last book of discounted rooms. By the time this is published and you're hearing it, they will likely be gone. But nonetheless, you can still stay at the Doubletree. There are other hotels in the area that might have rooms, so you might be able to get in. But to hear Tracy and the other Titans and the 38, I believe we have 38 speakers at this event from Thursday evening, that's September 24th, through Saturday, September 26th, with an optional CU day on September 27th. This is an event that you don't want to miss. If you're a private practice owner, if you're trying to solve something in hiring or retention or reimbursement or cash-based services, revenue cycle management, whatever it is that you're working on right now within your practice, there is likely somebody in the room who's going to have an answer. So we have the best of the best here. Super pumped for this event. Very looking forward to what Tracy's going to put together and share here. The best way for you to register, I'll put the link in the show notes, but it's titansofprivatepractice.com. An event you don't want to miss as a private practice owner. And otherwise, I will see you in Nashville or our next episode. Thanks, everybody. See ya.